Hello, I'm Alejandro Negron from Hispanic Agenda on News Channel 8 and Telemundo. I'm the moderator of this primary debate of the Democratic candidates for the at-large county council seat. The candidates today with us are Beth Daly, Marc Elrich, Nancy Floreen, George Leventhal, Vivian Malloy, and Hans Riemer. This forum is hosted by the Montgomery County Media and sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County. Lena Barnes, the president of the League, is here to serve as timekeeper. I want to thank everyone here at MCM and the League for all the hard work that went into producing this and coordinating this forum. I also want to thank all the candidates for sharing their time with us. Participating in forums like this one is important to give voters the information they need to make informed choices. We plan on having a lively exchange of ideas today with the candidates giving opening statements followed by questions, where I may ask a follow-up question and then closing statements. The questions were prepared by the League of Women Voters. The candidates are seated in alphabetical order. The order of the opening and closing statements was determined by random drawing before the taping began. With that said, let's start this forum, and we're going to start with Mr. Hans Riemer.
Well, thank you. My name's Hans Riemer, and I'm running for re-election to the Montgomery County Council. I was elected first in 2010. And when I was elected to the council, the county government was really impacted by the Great Recession, and the party was over. It was my job to help clean up, and I'm very proud of the work that I've done, along with my colleagues, to get this county into a better place. I think we're in a much better place than we were 4 years ago. My wife Angela and I have two boys. The older is 6, the younger is 3, and my older boy is in kindergarten. And I am totally committed to ensuring that our schools continue to make progress with reducing class size, closing the achievement gap. My experience as a parent, seeing my son's classroom, has helped me understand the connection between educational success in our schools and the services that our families need in this county. And I'm a strong advocate for doing more on childcare and early childhood, but also supporting public transportation. I think bus service and Metro, the Purple Line, these are important initiatives for our families. Libraries, there's a big connection between libraries and children and seniors and everyone's ability to live a good life in this county. I'm very proud of my work around technology and economic development. And as we look forward in this county, I think it's important for us to prioritize local economic development. My work around supporting liquor law reform and attracting the younger workforce, as well as keeping our empty nesters, is an important part of building a diverse and thriving workforce in this county. I ask for your support to continue the work I'm doing with promoting the affordability and fiscal balance in our county and making progress on education, early childhood, and environmental measures as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. George Leventhal.
Thank you. I'm George Leventhal. For the last 12 years, I've represented you with passion, honesty, and integrity as an at-large member of the Montgomery County Council. It's been my privilege to serve as chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee, where I've used the power of government to help those who need the most: the poor, the sick, the elderly, the disabled, the homeless, the mentally ill, and abused and abandoned children. I'm very proud that this year more than 31,000 patients without health insurance will get to see a doctor because of the network of community clinics that I created called the Montgomery Cares Program. I'm very proud that this year, in our one-day count of homeless residents, we recorded the lowest number of homeless people in this county since we began counting them under federal requirements. This is a great county. I've lived in Montgomery County for 42 years. I lived here as a child. I've seen it change and I've seen it grow. I believe most of those changes for the better, but I am committed to preserving the things that make this county special. We have it all here. We have a very high quality of life. We have exciting, cosmopolitan urban areas. We have quiet, safe, single-family, suburban neighborhoods. And we have the best agricultural preservation program in the entire United States. Out of more than 3,100 counties in the entire U.S., the Natural Resources Defense Council said Montgomery County's farmland protection is the best. We can maintain all of those styles of life. We can continue to expand our economy, grow jobs, and improve our already excellent school system. We do that by asking questions and overseeing your tax dollars wisely and prudently. If you give me another 4 years in this job, I will listen to you. I will represent you vigorously. The best part of my job is solving your problems and helping you get your questions answered.
Thank you, Mr. Leventhal. Now let's welcome Ms. Floreen. Nancy.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Councilmember Nancy Floreen, and I've been very honored to serve this county for the past 12 years, and I would ask for your support in this election. This is a great county. I mean, there are tremendous people in this room who've given so much to our community, and those of you watching have contributed time and energy, and I think I can bring my experience to make this an even better county. Since I've been on the council, I've chaired the Transportation Committee, and I currently chair the Planning, Housing, and Economic Development Committee. And I'm here to tell you that I'm deeply committed to these issues, because these are really the linchpins of Montgomery County's success. Success for our children, success for our families, success for our future. I'm absolutely committed to supporting our educational needs. We were very proud this year to be able to fully fund the school system. And when I was first elected, one of our first votes was to vote to reduce class size and to add all-day kindergarten before the state had required it. As I've done throughout my career, I'm absolutely committed to making sure our teachers have the resources they need to bring our children to the success levels that they need to be at to have the great jobs of the future. I think we really need to prioritize job creation. I've been working on that for a number of years. I was an initiator of the Montgomery Business Development Corporation that has really created a great set pathway for jobs and for our residents to be successful. And I want you to know I'm going to continue to listen to you, to work with you, and to find great solutions for Montgomery County. Our issues are not soundbite issues, they're hard issues, and I have a long track record of listening and working to find solutions that work for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's welcome Vivian Malloy.
Good afternoon. I'm Vivian Malloy, and I am a candidate for Montgomery County Council at Large. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event and the Montgomery Community Media for hosting it. I am a proud receiver of endorsement from various organizations that represent diversity: the African American Democratic Central Committee, CASA, KPAD, and the Union Metropolitan Washington Council, AFL-CIO. For the past 20 years, I have been engaged in Montgomery County as a progressive community activist. I am a nurse and I am a retired military officer. I was proud and honored to serve our country for over 21 years, and I will be honored to continue my service here in the county, but be your county council at large member. I am an elected official serving my second term on the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee as the precinct chair organizer. I have been very instrumental in training our grassroots volunteers as they work on the polls to support our Democratic candidates, and they have done an excellent job. I am a long-time Mid-County resident living in Olney for over 24 years, and it has been a privilege to raise my son in the school system. As a parent, I know it's important to advocate for quality education and to close the achievement gap. I'm running for county council at large because I care about the state of affairs, the quality of life for the citizens, and the future of our next generation. I am ready to work for you, and I ask for your vote, Vivian Malloy, as your next county council at large member.
Thank you, Ms. Malloy. Let's welcome Marc Elrich.
Hi, and thank you all for putting this event on today, and for those of you in the audience who came. I'm Marc Elrich. I'm running for my third term on the county council. I was elected in 2006. I am the only council member who's running who does not take money from developers, and I didn't take money from developers when I ran in 2006. And I think that's important because the biggest business we do in the county is land use decisions, and I think it's important to have council members who are independent. I grew up in Montgomery County. I moved here at the age of 10 in 1960. I graduated from Einstein High School. My own kids went to Blair High School. I raised two foster sons. I served on the Tacoma Park City Council for 19 years, and I was a school teacher at Rolling Terrace Elementary School. I taught 4th and 5th grade for 17 years. And I had the fortune of actually living in the same neighborhood that fed the school that I taught. And it gave me a view of life that's a little bit different. I got to see both the students in school and see the students in the home, and I got to see the effect of what happens in home and how that impacts on what the kids bring to school. And a lot of that informs particularly how I look at education policy. We're going to be talking, I think, a lot over the next 4 years about what we do to close the achievement gap and what we do to make sure that schools on all sides of the county provide the same kind of opportunities for children. And the truth is we're not there yet. And we're going to need to do, I think, some pretty profound things, including taking a lot of effort to work on issues that affect family life and what goes on in the home. I'm proud that in the last year, the council passed my proposal for a bus rapid transit system. And the thing I'm most proud of is that the council passed my minimum wage effort, which involved getting Montgomery County and Prince George's County and the district to work together to pass an $11.50 minimum wage. And I think that was landmark legislation, and I think it was one of the best things we've ever done.
Thank you. And to close this round of opening statements, Ms. Beth Daly.
Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Beth Daly, and I'm running for one of the 4 at-large seats on the County Council. And I am a first-time candidate, so I'll give you, you probably don't know a whole lot about me. I'll give you a little background and tell you why I'm running. I grew up in Ohio. I'm the daughter of teachers. And I graduated from college in Ohio in the mid-1980s. And there were no jobs in Ohio in the mid-1980s, especially in the Toledo area. So I headed east to work for my U.S. Senator, Howard Metzenbaum. And met my husband in Howard Metzenbaum's mailroom. And we fell in love when we were trying to figure out where do we want to move to, to raise a family. And we settled on Montgomery County because of the green spaces, the good schools, and the responsive progressive government. So fast forward 24 years, our green spaces are getting paved over at an alarmingly fast rate. Our schools are good, but let's face it, they're overcrowded, littered with portable classrooms, and we have an achievement gap that we need to narrow. And we need to have folks on the council who are going to put residents and communities first and listen to them respectfully. I love Montgomery County. I'm one of these people, I'm so proud to call Montgomery County home. But I feel like Montgomery County can do better. Our roads are overcrowded. Our schools are overcrowded. We need folks on the county council who are going to put residents first and who are going to look at development in a very critical way and make sure that it doesn't negatively impact our life. We need to make sure we have the infrastructure to absorb that new growth. That's schools, that's public transit, that's road improvements, libraries, and so forth, and that should all be there. As I mentioned, I started off 8 years ago in Howard Metzenbaum's mailroom, and after that 8 years, fast forward 8 years, I'm media director, and I'm running a $75 million budget for the Clinton Gore presidential campaign. And I had to literally reconcile that $75 million down to the penny. I was also one of the original coalition members for the Save the 10 Mile Creek Coalition. So what you get with me as a county council member is you will get someone who knows how to spend other people's money well and someone who cares. 2 very important qualities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Daly. And now we're going to start with the questions. The first question has to do with transportation funding. The first person that will be answering will be Ms. Vivian Malloy. There are several transportation projects that need funding in Montgomery County that will involve federal, state, and county money. What specific steps would you take in Annapolis and in the county to find county money to pay for its share? Would you do that? Do you support a local gasoline tax to provide transportation funds?
Very interesting question. Thank you. The steps that I would take to get funding from Annapolis would be to work collaboratively with our delegation. It is very important that we have a plan, that we have a strategic action plan to go to Annapolis and to tell them why we need this money. We are a thoroughway for many of the counties that come here through Montgomery County, utilizing our major roads. So I would make sure that we ask for money to improve our roads. And the second question for gasoline would be, I would not consider gasoline taxes. Initially, it would be a last resort as far as improving revenue within our budget.
Thank you. Mr. Marc Elrich.
Well, the county worked pretty hard with the legislature to to get the gas tax and to provide additional funds to the county for transportation projects. And I think that was really, really important. It gets us a start. It didn't get us enough, and we're going to have to, I think, continue to try to get more out of the state, but also more out of the federal government. We are really dependent on those two entities for bringing in large sums of money. But I think we have some internal ability to fund things. I believe in what they're doing in Northern Virginia, where they've created transportation taxing districts, and they do a lot to raise money from development. And the view is that when you upzone property and you create an enormous amount of wealth and value for people, that at least in Fairfax, they take steps to recapture some of the wealth they're creating and use that to fund transportation projects. Fairfax has a 12-cent base tax on top of the regular property tax that's on commercial property only for transportation. And when they do their major transportation projects, they have special taxing districts. I think special taxing districts on commercial property are something we should look at.
Mr. George Leventhal.
The state legislature deserves a great deal of credit, and Delegate Charles Barkley is here, and I congratulate him and all of our colleagues for taking the unpopular but correct move to raise the gas tax in 2013. Along with all of my colleagues, I worked hard to build support for that necessary measure, which provides all the funding necessary to provide the state match for the Purple Line, which will be a joint federal and state-funded project, which is scheduled to begin construction in 2015. It is so important that we have a real project in the ground that people can actually use. We do a lot of talking about our long-term plans for transportation, but the Purple Line is a real project that's about to happen, and it's necessary that we ask candidates, are you for it? We need to move ahead without any further delay at the same time as we measure impacts on communities, listen to communities, and work with the state, as I am doing on the Purple Line Impact Advisory Group, to address issues of aesthetics, noise, planning, economic impacts. These are all real issues. I'm glad the Purple Line is moving forward. We also need to move ahead with Corridor Cities Transitway, Bus Rapid Transit, and other road improvements like the Georgia Randolph Interchange, which just broke ground.
Thank you, Mr. Leventhal. Let's ask Hans Riemer.
Well, getting more investment from the state is an important priority for Montgomery County. As my work on the Transportation Committee, I've had the opportunity to help prioritize funding for Metro and the Purple Line. We were able to significantly increase the amount of funding in the county's budget for the Purple Line. When the moment arose to work with our state legislators to achieve a funding increase, I worked very hard, helped create a coalition, a statewide coalition called Get Maryland Moving. And we were active in Annapolis and helping secure that funding increase. Now I would like to work on the Corridor Cities Transitway. And we are very close to a state deal to fund the Corridor Cities Transitway, which goes from Shady Grove to Clarksburg. But we need to spend some time in Annapolis with our delegation working with other counties around the state to achieve a funding deal. These are very important priorities for the county and for me as well.
Thank you. Ms. Beth Daly, what's your view on this?
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned in my opening, our roads are overcrowded. And not only is that bad for as residents for our lives, because we're rearranging our lives based on traffic and when we leave, but it's also bad for business. So transportation, public transit has to be a real priority for us. There's different ways to get the money. Obviously, federal and state, you need to have good relationships with the state officials. It shouldn't turn into finger pointing, it should be working together, and I applaud them for the courageous act in terms of taking state dollars, and now we have now we're able to fund some of our local transportation projects, and that's hugely important.
Ms. Nancy Floreen.
Thank you. Several years ago, I initiated what came to be a $160 million transportation funding plan. That actually has been now used to fund the Glenmont-Randolph Road interchange that we just broke ground on this week. It's funded the Glenmont Garage, and it's going to be funding the southern entrance to this Bethesda Metro station. I think we need to be creative in how we find resources. The gas tax is unlikely to be raised in the short term, that's for sure. So some sort of special taxing district is likely to be the solution, at least for the Corridor Cities Transitway. We shall see what really can work to get us the transportation that we need.
And now we're going to move on to the topic of diversity. We're going to start with Ms. Daly. Name a specific action that you would take as council member to increase opportunities for the to the diverse minorities in the county to be represented on county boards and commissions?
Specifically in county boards and commissions?
Yes.
Well, there needs to be more outreach. And I think that the folks who serve on the boards and on our commissions, and in fact, county employees in general, they should reflect how our county looks. And so that means, PTAs make sure that there's things in languages, and so people have access to that. And we need to reach out to people in different ways, not online, via newspapers, and even in like small community international stores and grocery stores. We need to do it in lots of different ways, and it's hugely important because I feel like our county employees and our boards should reflect the diversity and the wonderful diversity that we have in our county.
Thank you, Mr. Hans Riemer.
It's a good question because the county government needs to reflect the population, and the people who are involved in our county affairs should represent the population. Since I've been on the council, I have worked with my friends and people I work with in the community to encourage them to get involved on county boards and commissions, and many of them have. We also need to do more to educate our residents about the different ways that they have to get involved. I don't think a lot of people really understand how many boards and commissions there are and how easy it is to have a voice in local decisions. I served on a local commission in Long Branch, and it was a great experience for me to get involved. So moving from there, we need to focus on issues like childcare and the achievement gap, supporting our nonprofit organizations which work in these diverse communities so that we can strengthen our local leadership and have a broader pool of community activists to bring into our county boards and commissions.
Thank you, Mr. Elrich.
Well, in the time I've been on the council, I've seen the council do a lot more to do community outreach and to involve the different communities. And we have an office where we have people who actually job it is to engage the community. And it's something that's really changed, I think, over the last 8 years. But I think it's something that needs to continue to evolve. We need more input from people who are not the usual suspects. But the appointments, and I was hoping somebody would point this out, it's the executive who makes the appointments and the council who approves them. So most of the time we get a list of who's being appointed. What we can do is, and what I do is try to encourage people to apply for jobs. If there's an opening up there and people say, if you see something, can you plug me into it? Can you keep me aware of it? I try to make sure that people I know who are interested know that there are opportunities that are coming up in the appointment process. But I think that the real key for us is that we do what we can individually to reach out to communities, and that the county continue to expand its effort to communicate with diverse communities.
Thank you, Ms. Nancy Floreen.
Thank you. Well, I spend a lot of my time with every community group that I can imagine, letting them know about what I do and what opportunities are available in Montgomery County. I send out a newsletter monthly to over 18,000 people, telling them about opportunities for appointments and the like. And we have, as Councilmember Elrich has mentioned, we have established an office directed to community outreach in different languages. I was recently on the council's hour-long show that is directed to the Hispanic community, and I don't speak Spanish, but what I said was translated for folks, and I think we are all trying to do the very best we can to reach out to all communities of whatever background. What's great about Montgomery County, I think there are over probably 200 countries represented within our county, and we are finding every resource that we can put to use to reach out to those groups.
Thank you. Mr. George Leventhal.
As chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee, I've worked very closely with the leadership groups that have organized the African American Health Program, the Latino Health Initiative, and the Asian American Health Initiative to eliminate disparities in healthcare among various components of our diverse community. I congratulate Wilbur and Vivian Malloy for their work with the African American Health Program. The leadership of those three initiatives are now being combined in a Leadership Institute for Equity, which will advise our Director of Health and Human Services on all of the programs that benefit people who need the most help from government. As an at-large council member, I frequently worship in our many different faith communities. I speak Spanish. I've worked very hard to interact with many different groups and to forward people's interest in serving the community in a more in-depth capacity to the county executive who, as Mr. Elrich stated, makes the appointments to our boards and commissions. I do believe that the leadership of our county should reflect the population of our county.
Thank you. And Ms. Malloy.
I believe in leading through example, and thank you, George, for recognizing my work that I did with the African American Health Program. That's because I believe in working with our community outreach programs. It was key essential to me to look at services that were not being provided to those unserved families. So I feel very strongly about, as a council member, it is our responsibility to make the public abreast of all available community outreach that they can serve in. These opportunities to serve your county on boards and commission. We can do this by several ways, through our newsletter, through having frequent town hall meetings, and just working with those diverse groups that exist, with the Latino, the African American groups, and the Asian groups. We must keep our open door policy and embrace these groups every day as we conduct county businesses.
Thank you, and we'll move on to our next question. It has to do with school construction and capital improvement project funding. Many would say that the priority of the capital improvement project budget should be new school construction and the renovation of older schools. Would you increase the share of the CIP budget that goes to schools? If so, what other county projects should be delayed? And we're going to start with Mr. Elrich.
That's a thorny question. I mean, I don't believe we should delay other projects. We have a multitude of needs in this community, whether it's fire stations and police stations, recreation centers for communities that haven't seen their recreation centers renovated. There's a lot in there. I think that we've done better on school funding. I think we need to get more from the state on school funding. But frankly, I think we have to be careful with our own development policies. We shouldn't be approving things for which there is no money. It is not enough to point the finger at the state and say the state should give us more when you have a record of the state not giving us what we need. Our policy should reflect the reasonable amount of dollars that we're likely to get. I think developers in residential communities should be more held accountable for providing facilities. They are in other counties, they are in other states, and I think we need to hold them more accountable for providing the facilities here. It's just unrealistic to load this burden off on all Montgomery County taxpayers.
All right, thank you. And next is Ms. Floreen.
School construction money is technically a responsibility of the state. We gave up on them years ago in terms of getting Montgomery County the resources that it needed. And I think that in terms of its allocation within our budget, I think we've increased it quite significant over the past years. At the end of the day, we also tax new development to contribute to school construction. The fact of the matter is the demands on our school space are largely driven by existing communities, and that's just a fact of life. I think, remember that with our capital budget, we also pay for roads. We pay for transit facilities. We pay for environmental initiatives, and we pay for a lot of other county resources as well. So the job of the county council involves serious balancing of county priorities as we work into the future, and I'm committed to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Vivian Malloy.
I agree with Nancy. It is essential that we continue to support our school capital budget and that we work with our delegation to get the money from Annapolis. But we have to be accountable, and the bottom line is the buck stops here with us. As you know, this county is growing by leaps and bounds with population, over 2,000 new students a year. We are busting through the seams in our school system. We need new schools. Our old schools need to be renovated. We need new schools built with the state of the art and to implement good security so that we can feel comfortable as parents that we're sending our kids to school and they will be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's turn to Ms. Beth Daly.
Well, I started campaigning in 2013, And at that time, there were 15 schools that were over capacity, 15 clusters in Montgomery County. Now, just a year later, there are 18 clusters. I mean, that's a problem. And a lot of the development that's been approved the buildings haven't come and the children haven't come. So the first question is we need to make sure, and the first point is that we need to make sure that we develop in a sustainable way. Because when the schools are overcrowded, it's not just about portables, it also means that the interior parts of the schools, the libraries, the cafeterias are overcrowded because they weren't built to sustain that growth. We also need to make sure that when we go to that we have a good working relationship with the state delegation, and that right now we're getting 20 cents on the dollar, and I believe Howard County's getting 26 cents on the dollar. We need to work to try to bring more dollars back to Montgomery County so that we can build these schools.
Thank you. Let's turn to Mr. Hans Riemer.
Well, when the baby boomers were children, we built a lot more schools. And we are experiencing the kind of enrollment surge in our school districts today that really is a replication of that kind of challenge. So in this year's budget, I was very proud to support a very large increase in school construction funding. It was about $130 million. And school construction funding is now at a record high in Montgomery County. And we provide about 85% of all the local school construction dollars. The state only provides about 15%, which for most other counties in the state, it's closer to half or less. So we need to get the state to do more. We are working hard on a big deal with the state to create a surge in construction funding that could match our surge in enrollment. I also think that we need to put more child care facilities into our modernized or renovated schools. I was very surprised to find out that fewer than 1 in 10 of our new schools has space for child care. We need to make room for those kids as well.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Leventhal.
Trying to get a school construction financing package through the General Assembly was Montgomery County's top priority this year, and we were not successful. It is often the case in Annapolis that good ideas take more than one legislative session to come to fruition, and I'm very optimistic that we can go back next year, that we'll have a reinvigorated effort, and that we can get additional financing from the state through bonds that we, the county, will have to secure. We have always made school construction in the capital budget and the school's operating budget our top priority in Montgomery County, and we will always continue to do that. We are running behind, there's no question. Our schools are overcrowded. There's many reasons for that. Development is one reason. Simply having young families with more children, empty nesters leaving their homes and young families moving in. So there are many factors. We've got to continue to make school construction a priority. We've got to be responsive to communities, and our school board also must play a role. It's time for us to be honest with each other as institutions. Where populations are assigned and how school boundaries are drawn is also a big, complex political issue, but one that also should be addressed. Mr.
Leventhal, thank you. And Mr. Leventhal is going to start the next round of answers that has to do with immigrant health. Should the county provide health services to immigrants who are not funded under the Affordable Care Act?
Yes, we should, and as I said earlier, I'm very proud of my role in developing the Montgomery Cares network of community health clinics, which provide extraordinarily competent health care for most patients in their own language. And we will continue to do that. In my next term on the County Council, I'm very proud that we will finally achieve universal access to health care in this county because of the exchanges now available under the Affordable Care Act, the expansion of Medicaid, and the continuation of our community health clinics, which will serve a wide range of people. Some of them for the first time are now becoming Medicare participants, and indeed they will also serve immigrants who may not be eligible either for participation in the exchanges or for Medicaid. It's very important that we have a uniformly high quality of health care, whether you are in a Cadillac private pay plan or whether you're seeking care through a community health clinic. I'm chairman of the Healthy Montgomery Steering Committee, which is working to integrate healthcare delivery and adopt the uniform, high-quality sharing information through the triple aim: bringing down the cost of care, improving the quality of patient care, and improving population health.
Thank you. And let's go to Ms. Vivian Malloy.
Great job, George. I am a nurse, and you know that I am passionate for the delivery of quality care. I believe that we all deserve to have the opportunity to have health care benefits. So I am in support of providing health care services to our immigrants. That's why I became involved in our outreach programs through my church, the People's Community Baptist Church, who established one of the first grants in providing healthcare services over in Burtonsville, the East County Regional Wellness Center. We served all those individuals who had no healthcare services and had been disenfranchised because they could not afford to go through the regular healthcare process. I believe in universal healthcare. It is essential that we as a county council people, that we take care of our citizens.
Thank you. Ms. Daly.
Absolutely, yes. That's an easy question to answer. I've been supported by and endorsed, and I'm proud to say, by Casa de Maryland and KPAD, and those are both organizations that are embedded in their communities, and they care a lot, and they're involved a lot in healthcare delivery and working with the county to make that happen. And we need to continue to support those organizations and make sure that Montgomery County citizens are getting the healthcare services that they need, no matter where they live or in whatever their immigration status is.
Thank you. You caught me drinking a little bit of water. Mr. Elrich, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's critically important that we do this. I mean, I think we're all lucky we live in Montgomery County, where the standard is equal treatment for everyone, and where county residents, I think, are some of the most compassionate and welcoming people that you could find. I cannot imagine Montgomery County going down a path where some people had access to health care, and if by circumstance of birth you weren't an American citizen or legally here, that somehow you don't have access to health care. The truth is that people will get access to health care. They'll be in the hospitals instead of in clinics. Hospitals are the most expensive place to provide basic fundamental care to people. We need to provide clinic support and community support. People need to feel they can go before conditions get chronic and severe. As a teacher, I mean, one of the hardest things to deal with was tired kids who were hauled off to the hospital because their brother or sister had an asthma attack in the middle of the night. And it became a whole family adventure because everybody had to go off to the hospital. It is the wrong way to deliver health care. Community clinics are the right way, and we should provide access to everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Nancy Floreen.
It's a great question, and it's a great opportunity to let people know how committed we all are to providing health care for all residents. You should just go see what the Muslim Community Council does, not just for Muslims, but for everybody in the community. Same with the programs that the Malloys have been involved in, what George is talking about here. This is a caring community, and it cares for everyone without attention to where you're from, what your background is, because it only makes Montgomery County better, and it serves us to no good end to have sick people here. As Councilmember Elrich has just said, otherwise the solution is to drive up healthcare costs for everyone by going to the emergency room. Or sick children in the classroom is not good for anybody else. So I do think our commitment to health care for everyone is a long one and one embedded in Montgomery County, and everyone should be very proud to know that.
Thank you. Mr. Riemer.
Yes, I think that the network of community health care clinics that we have in this county is one of our county government's signature achievements. And I'm very proud to have supported funding increases for that in each of the budgets over the last 4 years within the framework, of course, of responsible budgeting. But we have had to work very hard to ensure that more funding could be found to meet the community health care needs. With the advent of the Affordable Care Act, the population is transitioning, and we need to focus ever more on language access. That's something that's, I think, a challenge for us across the county and across all of our services. But the point is made that, as I think about my son in his classroom, what good does it do him if other kids in that classroom, if their parents aren't getting adequate health care? That's going to have an impact on those children. And then if those children aren't thriving in that classroom, that's going to have an effect on my son. We're all in this together, and that's why this network of clinics is so important.
Thank you. And now we're going to change topics and focus on affordable housing. What specific changes would you make to Montgomery County's zoning code to increase affordable housing, or are the recent changes going to solve this issue? We'll start with Ms. Floreen.
Well, this is something I've been working on for many years. I was a member of the County Planning Commission years ago, and a member of the Board of Montgomery Housing Partnership, which is a nonprofit. devoted to providing affordable housing. We've just approved, and my colleagues have agreed with additional changes to the zoning ordinance that will encourage, I hope, the provision of more affordable housing on the private sector side. And we've also approved a significant amount of funding in the Housing Initiative Fund that's designed to support either rent support for families or some of the acquisition and protection of existing affordable housing. It will continue to be a challenge within Montgomery County because so many people want to be here. That does drive up the cost of housing, but I'm committed to continuing to work on these things.
Thank you, Ms. Beth Daly.
Hi, well, I've been traveling, it's a big county, and I've been traveling across the county, and no matter what zip code I'm in, a lot of folks have asked me about the affordable housing issue. Let's face it, when we're doing a lot of these new developments, we're not tearing down $800,000 homes. A lot of what's being torn down are affordable garden apartments, so we're losing affordable housing. It's a net loss, and I think that those policies should be revisited. A lot of environmentalists talk about no net loss of tree canopy. I think we should have no net loss of affordable housing. I think that should be a goal. We also need to fund the Housing Investment Fund and Montgomery MHP, Montgomery Housing Partnerships. That's a great program. And we should look at innovative approaches like maybe building above firehouses, county buildings or county parking lots. And firehouses, believe it or not, it happens in New York City. It sounds loud, but that's an option. And also 30% of the folks who live in Montgomery County rent, and we need to make sure that we're providing predictable rents for them and that there's like anti-retaliatory measures in place to make them feel safe where they live.
Thank you, Ms. Daly. Hans Riemer.
Well, the new zoning code that we've passed has provided for creating new housing in the county, especially in our commercial districts, where today we have office buildings and parking lots. In the future, we're going to have housing and office buildings and retail areas. And that's where much of the housing growth is happening right now, up and down the 355 corridor in downtown Silver Spring, in downtown Bethesda. That is an environmentally responsible policy because I strongly opposed the expansion of development in the 10 Mile Creek watershed, which is a sensitive environmental area, but I did support it over public transportation. And we need to continue moving forward with those kinds of policies. We have a project in the capital budget now that has housing over a fire station in the White Flint area. And we've made some great changes to incentivize the production of more affordable housing. Bottom line is there's more people who want to live here than we have housing for, and we have to find the right place to put more housing.
Thank you. And Ms. Malloy.
I am a supporter of the smart growth, which utilizes the zoning of commercial residential. And as we use that concept in building our downtown areas or the dense population, the dense land areas, they are all focal around our transit hub. And so the biggest concern right now, are we pushing out that group that really needs affordable housing? Are we going to make sure that we at the table, the county council members, are fighting to increase MPDUs and ensure that we have an increase in our percentages of affordable housing being built? We need to look at putting money back in our everyday family so that they can have more economic empowerment, so they can afford to get housing. We also need to look at the availability of housing to our seniors, to low-income families, and to our workforce. Low-income housing or affordable housing is not a rarity only to low-income people.
Thank you, Ms.
Lots
Malloy.
of us need it.
Mr. George Leventhal.
My primary focus has been to locate housing for those who have no housing, our homeless population, and I've been very gratified by the unanimous support of the County Council for my initiative to add substantial numbers of permanent, stable placements for homeless clients. We've placed several dozen just in the last few months, and that's something we should be very proud of. I was happy to support Nancy Floreen's initiative in the zoning rewrite to enable MPDUs above the mandatory minimums to be built outside of density limits in new development. And for existing development, I appreciate the support of Mr. Elrich and Ms. Floreen for minor legislation now pending to give property tax credits to landlords who agree to rent apartments at below market rates voluntarily. There's a whole lot of other ideas that we need to remain open to. We need to see what other communities are doing successfully. But as other council members have stated, we're always going to be catching up because the market sets the price of housing, and where there is high demand, as in a highly desirable community like this one, people will always be looking to move here. And so we may never solve the problem, but we're always going to continue to look for creative solutions. The entire County Council is committed to that.
Thank you, Mr. Leventhal and Mr. Elrich.
Yeah, I think we have an enormous problem, and it's not just with people who want to move here, it's with people who already live here. The truth is a large portion of our rental population is spending more than 40 and 50% of their income on housing. This isn't, can I house who's coming here next? One of our great challenges is housing the people who are here now. We have lost more affordable housing than we will ever build. Our programs are absolutely inadequate to replace the amount of housing units that are being displaced by rising rents. That's not fiction, that's a fact. And we need to do something about that. So I think that in terms of zoning, we should not rezone any of the areas that are naturally occurring affordable housing. There are communities in Bethesda that are naturally occurring affordable housing. We shouldn't touch them. We should leave them on the ground. The council did that in Long Branch. We did that a little bit in Glenmont, but that should be council policy. And I happen to be an advocate for moderate form of some kind of rent stabilization to protect those communities that are most likely to be under gentrification pressure from being priced out of existence.
Thank you, and with that, that's the questions and answer session of this forum. We want to now hear from the candidates and their closing statement. We'll start with Mr. Hans Riemer.
Well, thank you for taking the time to watch this program and to engage with us. And I ask for your support. I'm running for re-election for my second term on the County Council. I've greatly enjoyed the work that I've done, and I've got a lot more that I want to do. In the next 4 years, I hope to make real progress in this county, supporting education and improving our schools, expanding early childhood and pre-K programs, continuing to advance measures to protect the environment, support public transportation, and to improve our nightlife and our local economic development. I think we need to do a lot better job recruiting a younger workforce into this county, as well as allowing our seniors to continue to live here. And I've got a bill before the council now to provide a senior property tax credit to help with that initiative as well. So lots going on, full plate, and I ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and now Mr. George Leventhal.
Thank you very much for letting me serve you for the last 12 years, work hard on your behalf. I hope you'll give me another 4 years. I'm proud of the work that I've done. I'm the co-founder of Purple Line Now, which kept support for this vitally important transit project alive, even when Governor Bob Ehrlich didn't support it, even when County Executive Doug Duncan didn't support it. We kept the project alive, and it's going to break ground in 2015. I'm the co-founder of Bethesda Green, a model of sustainable living, which is one of the fastest growing nonprofits in the state. It was the first green jobs incubator in the state. It's business consistent with our values. We're going to be putting green roofs throughout Bethesda. We're going to be continuing to provide inspiration for other community startups like Green Wheaton, Silver Spring Green, Poolsville Green, and others. I've already spoke about the work I've done as chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee. I've been married for 25 years. I have 2 children who have gotten a great education in our Montgomery County Public Schools. I understand the things that make this county special. I want to listen to you and continue to be your council member.
Thank you, Mr. Leventhal. Ms. Nancy Floreen.
I'm Nancy Floreen, and I ask for your support for another term on the Montgomery County Council, serving as an at-large member. I have been committed to Montgomery County in the over 34 years that I've lived here. Ranging from being a PTA president, a member of the Citizens Advisory Board in downtown Silver Spring, a member of the County Planning Commission between 1986 and 94, mayor of the town of Garrett Park, and as a long-term, frankly, public policy wonk. I bring a lot of history and a lot of experience to finding solutions that work for everyone. As I said earlier, these are not easy situations that we find ourselves in. But I think I have a proven track record of being creative, being nimble, trying to be responsive to everyone, and finding solutions to our challenges that work for everyone. This is a great community, and I would ask for your support in allowing me to help us make it even greater in the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Vivian Malloy.
As a retired military officer and elected official, a mother, a nurse, and a parent, I am Vivian Malloy, and I am ready to work for you. It is time that I go to the County Council as your representative. For most of this campaign, I have heard from the voters, and they are ready for change of leadership on the council. It is time for new energy, new leadership, leadership that is responsible, effective, and trustworthy. I am committed to working families and to bring results. I will advocate for those key issues that impact the daily lives of our working families. We may not agree on how to address all those issues, but doing nothing is not an option. My goal is simple: to do the people's work. I ask you to vote for Vivian Malloy as your next County Council member on June the 24th. Vivian as your first choice, the best choice, the people's choice.
Thank you, Mrs. Malloy. Mr. Marc Elrich.
So I would like your support in the coming election. The primary is June 24th, early voting is the 12th through the 19th, and I hope that if you like the work I did on the minimum wage, if you like my leadership in protecting 10 Mile Creek, if you like my idea to provide a network of bus rapid transit in the county, and if you like the work I did to preserve affordable apartment communities in Montgomery County, and if you were paying attention to the zoning code, and you like the work I did to protect the single-family neighborhoods, then I hope you'll vote for me on the 24th. It's an important election. I think there's a lot of work to be done. I've worked very hard to represent the communities in this county from the day I got elected. I believe that, going forward, we've got some serious challenges, and I think that, my contacts with the community, my openness and willing to work with people in the community put me in a good position to make sure that as we go forward and change, that I make sure that the voices of the community are part of that change.
Thank you, Ms. Beth Daly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to Montgomery Community Media and also to the League of Women Voters. I really appreciate this opportunity, especially as someone who's a first-time candidate. As I mentioned earlier, it is a big county, and I know it even more now after having traveled across the county and meeting with all the different voters. This is a grassroots campaign. I have volunteers from all across the county working on my campaign, and it's been a really wonderful experience. I've learned now, I appreciate Montgomery now even more than I did before. I mean, there are smart, engaged, committed folks who live in this county. And one thing that makes me different is that I've lived both down county and up county. Down county 10 years, up county 14 years. And currently 3 of the 4 at-large members live in Tacoma Park. And while I think that's a wonderful community, I think it brings some real value to have folks from different parts of the community on the council. And I have Delegate Charlie Barkley here, and some of the other up county state delegates have endorsed me, I think for that very reason. I think that there's some real value in having folks from different parts of the county. So I ask that you consider supporting me and my message of sustainable growth. Thank you.
Well, thank you, all of you, for joining us today, and thank you to the candidates for participating. This forum is just one of many programs that Montgomery County Media is hosting with the League to prepare residents of Montgomery County for the upcoming primary election. You can go to mymcmedia.org to see the program schedule for this debate or to watch the debate online. I just want to remind you that the primary this year will occur on Tuesday, June 24th. The polls will open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You may also vote early starting on Thursday, June 12th. At sites around the county, the Board of Election website lists those locations. Remember that voting is a great privilege that we have here in this country. Please use that privilege and vote. Goodbye.